This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody, WFO. It is Dodge SRT U.S. Nationals Week in drag racing land. I'm Joe Castello. Thank you very much for checking out the show. And we are getting ready, getting closer. Everybody is on their way. They're testing. They're getting ready for the big go, the biggest drag race on the planet. Now, what do we got going today? I got to tell you, I don't know. We don't know. We got nothing. Now, Alan Reinhart has just communicated with me that he had just left the airport. He's headed to Lucas Oil Raceway right now. I scheduled this for 4 o'clock, and I figured, you know what? Me and the listeners can banter about for a few minutes prior to Alan Reinhart coming on the show. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to get your takes, your hot takes, your thoughts, what's going on, Indy, sports talk style. So we'll put your comments in the comment section. Those of you watching on social media, YouTube, subscribe, click the bell, Twitter, retweet, all you people. Yesterday's show, and I know what you're thinking. If you didn't see yesterday's show, you're thinking, wow, there was a show yesterday. And the answer is yes, because I travel early in the morning tomorrow, and I'm headed up to Lucas Oil Raceway, and we're going to be spending Wednesday and Thursday, mostly Thursday, doing various social media, attention in the pits, cool cars, focusing on a bunch of stuff, doing stuff from the lanes. So be sure to stay connected to NHRA social media. Obviously, follow NHRA on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all of the various social medias. But we're going to hear from Reinhart not long from now, get our pre-race conversation in, and then it is on to the big go. So I'm super excited. Now, before we do that, before we get into all your comments and commentary and thoughts where you can actually direct the conversation a little bit, I do want to tell you about the people who are supporting the show. In particular, this week, the week of Indy, Torque Calibration Services of Australia. Matt Clark and his team down there, heavily involved in motorsports, heavily involved in drag racing and road course racing, V8 supercars. They go around and they calibrate torque wrenches is what they do. And they've been in business since the 1980s. And it is a great deal. Matt is one of our Patreons and just wanted to be involved with Indy Week and is supporting WFO Radio, Australia's leader in torque tool calibration, repairs, sales, and service. They are manufacturer authorized service center for all the leading torque wrench manufacturers. So if you're down under and you watch WFO, or you know racers who need torque wrench calibration services, you definitely want to hit them up on their website, which is torquecalibrationservices.com.au, and do it. Do it now. Thank you very much to Matt for serving it up here on WFO. Also, big thanks to Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School and the Dragster Adventure. FrankHawley.com. Go to the website. Check out how you can drive a dragster. They had Mickey Thompson Race Tires Day. So imagine your company, like whatever your company is, and you and your staff and your clients get together and you're driving dragsters and you're doing this team building experience thanks to Frank Hawley. Like, what is better than that? And especially in our world now where those experiences are so hard to get. FrankHawley.com. Find out more. Tell them you heard about it on WFO. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Judd Massengill, Linda, Brian, the whole team down there. I hope Brian is going to the U.S. Nationals. You know, it's going to be great out there. There's going to be Samtech cars, no doubt. But down there in Houston, Texas area, the next generation of machinists and engine builders and crew members and CNC programmers and EFI tuners, they're approved to train veterans under the GI Bill. Do it. Samtech.edu and tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. Also, Marvin Rodak. You guys know Marvin Rodak's coffeeandgrills.com. Hot sauces and spice rubs and everything you can imagine that makes like Marvin has been on the show many times. And it's like, if you can, you know, the quality of life, you want it to be better. Starting your day off with garbage vacuum packed coffee. Well, that's not cool. Start off your day with a little Rodax, and that part of the experience is better. Your grilling is better. Your grill is better. Your recipes are better. Call Marvin, 817-924-6821. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Castello's hawking at China about this barbecue guy. The fact is, he's been on TV. He's been on the Big Bad Barbecue Battle. He's won awards in Texas for grilling. His A26 Spice Rub is an award winner. He happens to be a drag racer. So keep it in the family of drag racers with RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. And Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. We got a new hidden horsepower episode is up right now. Ken McNamara, V8 supercars, 410 sprint cars, but also Also, they've got the big event happening on Friday at 1 p.m. at Indy, Lucas Oil Raceway, at the Matt Hartford Racing Pro Stock Trailer. Keith Jones, Lake Speed, Ed Keebler from Rottler Honing and Machining Specialists, which they're basically machines for automotive purposes. Folks at Rottler are going to do a tech talk, piston rings and cylinder honing, what's changed and why. Straight talk from the experts. Check them out. How precise cylinder bore surface finish makes rings seat and perform faster and better. Proper break-in procedures, which is what I'm actually interested in. And right ring selection for higher performance. Total Seal, Rottler, Hartford's Pit, Friday at the track, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Go. But you got to have a ticket. That's part of the deal. You don't get to just walk into the racetrack and see the U.S. Nationals for free. You get a ticket to the U.S. Nationals, and you get to see the Tech Talk free seminar trackside for free. And that is going on 1 p.m. Eastern time in Indianapolis, Indiana. Also want to shout out to Nitro Fish, where our 10th anniversary t-shirt is in the trailer. Go see Tamara, go see Keelan. Shout out when you walk up, just go WFO, and they'll be like, oh, there's one of these guys. I get it. And the WFO store, just found out the WFO store is rocking. Sue Morris bought the Breville Smart Oven Air Fryer I posted in there. Yeah, it's an Amazon store, most of it. You can get the Warren Johnson book and the Snake book, and you get all kinds of Bob Wilbur's Bats, Balls, and Burnouts is in there. All kinds of drag racing themed gifts, etc. But when I use a product and I deem it to be superior or useful, I put it in the WFO store. And Sue Morris, Stubo, actually bought it and got it. Didn't have to wait 6 months for hers like I did mine. That's all at WFOradio.com. You can also get a face covering there. All right, so Reinhart's probably 15, 20 minutes out. I got all the business out of the way. It's now time to just geek out on the U.S. Nationals. We did have Ignition yesterday. Ignition was on. We made our picks. We used the Patreons. That is not a good thing to say, Joe. Remember that. The Patreons, who are our advisory board, patreon.com/WFO Radio. And we got a brand new one yesterday. Someone who decides to pay for added WFO benefits. They are our advisory board. They get to watch Ignition, and we made picks. I will share the consensus picks with you at some point during the show. We normally don't make picks, but if you want to become a Patreon, you can. Let's see what everyone's got to say out there. Okay, look at this. TFFC 6429, whatever, says predictions, Top Fuel. All right, you're asking, I'll tell you my consensus pick in Top Fuel. The Top Fuel consensus pick, as in there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people that participated in our Patreon only pick the winner of the U.S. Nationals. And there were a bunch of different winners. I will not tell you mine in the interest of staying neutral. I don't want somebody changing the odds out there based on my pick. But the consensus pick, 3 of our Patreons took Brittany Force, our guest yesterday. And Brittany was especially sassy yesterday, calling me out because I inartfully challenged her about 2020. I said, well, you should go back and listen when this show is over. But I said something along the lines of, you guys did nothing in 2020. And it was a little harsh. And she called me out, and she was right. It was a little harsh. Not everything I say is perfect. And that was one that was low, because in 2020, you did nothing. She's like, nothing. And it was funny. But they picked Brittany to win Top Fuel. So there you go. Let's see what this guy has to say. Derek Green, Patreon. Where are you at with your Trans Am engine extraction overhaul? Haven't heard much about it lately. Yeah, that's true. That is a good point. And when would I have done it? And that's the answer, right? Like, when is this happening? With 5 out of 6 weeks, Western Swing, Kansas, and Brainerd. We had a weekend off this past weekend. I wasn't doing it then, but I have made calls. I am positioning the chips on the chessboard, and planning for my good friends to come down, and we're going to attack it at some point during the countdown. And my goal, setting small goals, get the engine on the engine stand. That's it. That's the goal. Out and on the stand. That would be a win for me. And then we would begin the inspection process. And, do we need total seal piston rings? Do we need new rings? Do we need new pistons? Do we need anything new? We just put it back together. That's it. Brittany can make it happen. Okay, cool. Funny car predictions. Well, we'll save those for later. I want to knock out all the predictions immediately. Let's see. Justin says, anyone know what the field count looks like for Indy? I heard all the fields look good, and I forgot to look. Well, we talked about it yesterday with Steve Brenwald. Over 16 cars for everybody. It's like 19, 18, Pro Stocks deep, all very deep. You can go to NHRA.com, look up event info, competitors, and it gives you the actual list. But full fields and then some for the big go. So, you know, you want to make that storyline about, oh, Brainerd, and yeah, it was like, oh, bummer. But we had a good race. And here at Indy, the U.S. Nationals, we have the fields that we would love at every race. Let's be honest. We would love to see 20 top fuel dragsters competing at every race. It would be great. But then again, remember the conversation we had just a couple of weeks ago about all run, right? Like, you know, hey, I'm going to the race. I spent all this money. Oh, I didn't qualify. I'm going home. If there's anything in our sport that's a disincentive to competition, it's that. Like, you could buy everything, go everything, and still not even be a part of it. Something that I think should be on the table for revisitation. Let's see what Scott says. Hey, Joe, Lyle got entered into Indy, busted the gear. And yeah, I saw Lyle's destruction, but he built that car, beer money, with $10,000 for like a $10,000 race car challenge. And that was the first gear they put into it. You know, things break. Nothing is forever. And it sounds like that Lyle Barnett got more than his fair share of money out of the ring gear and beer money. I like the name of the car. Monica says, happy Tuesday. Very simple. Blake in Wyoming. Hello, Joe. Hello, Blake. Nice picks on your show. Thank you very much. Tater, 26 cars in Factory Showdown. Now, I keep calling Anthony Tater because at the last race that Factory Showdown cars were at, I was at, you know what I need to do? I need to email Reinhart the link for the show. Yeah. Like, I'm probably like, where's Reinhart? And Reinhart's like, where's the link? Don't worry, I'm doing it now. Yeah, this is going to be fast and loose. There we go. Thank you, Tater, for reminding me of that. So I went down and I met Lenny Lodig and Anthony Troyer, two relatively new Constant Aviation Factory Showdown racers that run Barton Power. And yesterday we had John Serbone, who was their Barton teammate, on yesterday on our pre-race extravaganza. And these guys were stoked. And the thing about Lenny is Lenny just got the win a couple of days ago in an NMCA event at Norwalk over Scott Libisher. And that's pretty cool. And I'm excited about Showdown. They got 26 cars. 26 cars. There will be Fords. And so anyway, Anthony Troyer lives on the west coast of Florida and educated me that they grow potatoes in Florida, which I did not know as a Floridian. And that's his nickname, Tater, because he's a potato farmer. You got to have a nickname, man. That makes all the difference. Wilkie FC7, that's Daniel. Hot take, Chad Green wins Indy, says Daniel Wilkerson. Wow. Daniel, if you could pull that off, I would be all for it. First of all, I love Chad Green. Like, Chad is a great guy, quiet, but the kind of guy that as you get to know him and he gets comfortable with the situation, as is the case with so many of these successful characters out there, he opens up. And what they were dealing with out in Brainerd with that lockup torque converter bleed situation, they were just having challenges with the transmission, tugging down the engine and shutting it down. I've been in a race car that's had problems like that at the lowest of levels. And it's the kind of thing that'll get your blood pumping and the adrenaline going. Like, I'm out here having problems, look like a fool, holding up the show, like all these thoughts you shouldn't be thinking. And they handled it. Granted, it wasn't what they wanted, but Dean Marinas is a very sharp guy, very fast. Chad's fast. They're going to be great. And I think they're perfect for Nitro. And so good luck, Daniel. Make it so. And you'll be on WFO afterwards, no doubt, after this bold prediction. Justin, oh, wow, that sucks. I wanted to go to Atlanta. Sadly, I'll never get to go. Yes, that's true. Sadly. I'm kind of going backwards up our comments as opposed to down. Justin says, I'm so ready to hear this. LOL. I'll be at Indy on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Really, Justin? That is great. Come on out. John Force beckoned all of his fans to come. If you are a Force fan and your driver says, come to Indy, I call upon you to come to Indy, and you don't go. I mean, I'm not telling you to like spend the rent money, but if you don't go to Indy, when your driver reaches out and calls you and says, make this a special occurrence, the 2021 Dodge SRT U.S. Nationals at Lucas Oil Raceway, the granddaddy of them all, and you don't go, I don't know. I think it says something. Let's see what Lonnie says. Always like when Alan drops by. Hello, y'all. Hello, Lonnie. I'll make it to Indy someday. If you haven't been to Indy, you are missing a tremendous stat in your drag racing resume. I consider myself a drag racing fan super diehard before I went to Indy. But then I went to Indy, and then I realized I was a fan, but I didn't know what I didn't know. Didn't know. How could you know what you don't know? But you don't know what you don't know. And to know that you don't know what you don't know is very important if you want to know. And knowing means going to Indy. Cameron Evans used to tell me all the time that there's three races, but really two that really matter. And Indy is one of them. And everybody's at Indy. And it's so true. And it's a journey. Last night on Ignition, we were talking about Spa and Formula One. And the thing about Spa that makes it cool, because it's a 4-mile track, it's that you're going on this journey. You're going out into the Ardennes forest. And obviously the race was kind of a joke and they didn't get it off. And it's good to see that, other series have challenges too. But going on this journey, and that's the thing about the U.S. Nationals. The person you are when you leave is a different person than the person that arrives. And it sounds ridiculous to say that, except it's true. You'll get so much drag racing in and so much knowledge and so many things will happen Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we're not even going on Monday this year. We're not going on Monday. All kinds of big announcements going to be happening. I don't want to, guess what any of them might be. He loves the place. Let's see. Nice picks on your show. All right. Looks like that. Oh, Monica. Let's see what Monica has to. Indy is on my bucket list. Let's have my kiddo experience Indy. And if you go, I highly recommend, and this is crazy. I know I'm spending other people's money, spending your money. You got to do the full pull. You got to do the full pull. Got to do it. That's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Why? Because it's a life experience. And two, it will change your perspective of drag racing. You'll make friends for a lifetime. No doubt. No doubt. You got to do the full pull. Going to a drag race on Saturday. Like a lot of people I went to Indy or to the Gator Nationals on Saturday. That's great if that's all you're going to do, but that's not how you do it. We always wonder how many people are there to hear loud, fast cars and say, wow. And how many people are there to see if Dean Antonelli and John Medlin can help Ron Capps win his first U.S. Nationals? That's a different kind of fandom. And frankly, we have so many fans that are, wow, look how fast and loud they are. Oh my gosh, I never knew a thing could go that fast. And we're always trying to make sure those people realize, oh, wait, these are real people. I want to become a fan. I want to buy a shirt. I want to get to know that person. I want to follow them through their competitive existence. And that's the challenge for drag racing, I think. But we're working on it. Let's see. Let's go drag racing. Justin says, how long have you been going to Indy, Joe? I've been going since I was 7. I'm 32 now. You win. You win. I have only been going since 2012 when I got hired by the National Hot Rod Association. Alani says his picks, Brittany Top Fuel, Ron Capps Funny Car, Greg Anderson, and Pro Stock Mike. I'd like Karen's bike. I'd like Karen Stouffer to win, but I'll go with Eddie Krawick misspelled. You misspelled it, Lonnie. That's okay. I'm just teasing you. Could it have been a typo? No, C and K nowhere near each other. I always assume it's a typo until I look at the keyboard. Whoever put the letters I and O next to each other on the keyboard of the phone keyboard, number one, should be punched in the stomach. Number two, how does the iPhone spell check thing where it predicts what you're going to say not know that O is not I? Like, I am going to the store. And if I push O and O comes up and it says O is going to the store, shouldn't the smart technology have that one figured out by now? Because it doesn't. Not on my phone. And it's always O, and I just go with it. Like I just send out bad grammar, and people should assume it's a typo. Simple as that. Let's see. Lee, where's Jeff Bonfield? His wife is even here. Really? Wow, Jeff's here somewhere. Wow, we got married couples on there. They're doing like marriage counseling in the comment section of WFO. That's what it's all about. Share the show, folks. This is WFO Pre. Reinhart's showing up soon. Heard anything about Angel, Jerry Savoy, others? I hope they can race. So Jerry posted on social media this morning that they were okay, but that it was an extreme experience, and he did not reference racing at all. Vonnie, his missus, posted a video of a tree falling in their land, on their property. And so they had a pretty crazy experience. So, Terry, that's all I got. Angel, I haven't seen. Good afternoon. Love watching you on NHRA.tv. Great show yesterday, says Cody. Thank you very much, Cody. I love being on NHRA.tv. I always think there should be more people, though. I have no idea how many viewers we have. I have no clue. They don't tell me. But with what you get, if you love drag racing, at very least the single event for the U.S. Nationals, everybody should be on that deal. Everybody. Entry stats. Exactly. Entry stats. We shared them on the Ignition Show. I'm not going to go over them again unless Steve Brenwald wants to put them in the comment section for each category, all categories in one comment. Steve, who has taken over the role as virtual stat producer, right? But I think it's like, 19, 18, 20, something like that. Mark says, I wonder if Angel will be able to get to the big go with her bike. Damage to her home, et cetera, and so on. Yeah, well, guys, if she can't, you got to deal with it. Our friends down there in Louisiana got hammered. You don't have to go very far. Just flip on your TV to see. The thing about these deals is that Angel hasn't posted. The last post was this. Okay? Take it from someone who lives in Hurricane Alley. And it was just 3 years ago that I blazed out of Lucas Oil Raceway to catch a flight to make it home just prior to a Category 5 hurricane coming right up the urethra in Florida. Fortunately, it went a little west. But it was traumatic, and you can't understand it. Just like we were talking about things you don't know that you don't know. Dealing with a hurricane, it's just a special kind of anxiety. And yes, you can run. It gives you time, but that same time of dwelling and thinking, it's pretty negative. Oh, I see Reinhart getting ready. Maybe he's got some information. Speaking of Chad Green, what happened a few weeks ago when he took a hard right turn off the starting line? Was that Chad off the starting line? Indy is for sure on the bucket list. Yes. Billy Anderson went to Indy in 2002, so I could see Shirley and Big Daddy compete in Top Fuel at the time. That sounds great to me. I'm here if you need anything, stats, info, recipes, etc. There you go. That's why I said, man, give us the entry numbers. Nicole, you see Nicole Clark up here, and she is, does anyone miss the shootout in Indy? We all missed the shootout, Nicole. Hopefully there'll be a new one. Wouldn't it be great if we could announce something like that? Oh, from your mouth to God's ears. Let's hear what Reinhart has to say. Joining us now, voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, out there at Lucas Oil Raceway, sitting in the Tower Media Center. Alan, how are you? How was your flight?
My flight was late. That's part of the problem, but it didn't crash, so I guess that's good.
That's a good, very positive attitude you're putting forth right before the big go, Alan. It's good to see that you're like fired up. Didn't crash.
Yeah, well, so far I've been able to keep my number of takeoffs and landings equal, and that's pretty important. I guess technically you're always going to land, but it's just a matter of how you do, and so far so good. But
well, it's
no, for me. It's like I got a text message at 4:15 that my flight had been delayed 90 minutes. Now you can't tell me they didn't know that last night.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, send me a message at 9:00 in the evening and say, hey, man, your flight tomorrow is going to be late. So I can either make arrangements or sleep in or something. But anyway.
Something. Something, but you made it. It's all in the rearview mirror now, Alan. Let's not dwell on the past, even if it is recent past, as you just got off the plane. But we were talking a little bit, me and the listeners were just kind of kicking it, and they were putting comments in the comment section. We're talking about Indy. And I started off by saying, because my Indy experiences are still fresh. I am not a veteran like you are. I mean, I'm closing in on 10 years, which is great, but you just don't know until you've been. Take it from there. The Indy experience, the length, the duration, the cars, the categories, all the different specialty stuff, even at its most limited, it's still a lot.
Well, I just think the ambiance of this place is a big part of it. It's, there are a few racetracks. This is one, Gainesville is one, where when you walk through the gates, you can kind of feel the history. The first time I ever came here was late 80s, I guess, mid-late 80s, and I came literally just as a spectator. I had a friend who was moving across country, and I was helping and timed it so that I could make the drop off in Michigan and then come back here and go to the U.S. Nationals for the first time. And that had to be 87, 88 probably. But just walking in, you can feel the history, the fact that this is the place where Don Garlett shaved his beard in 1967. This is the place where so much of that history has taken place. This is the place where Mongoose won after Jamie passed away. And you can just kind of feel that ambience. Like I said, I feel the same way about Gainesville. There's just been so much history that's happened there. When you walk in, you're on, I hate to use the term hallowed ground because that's such a cliche. But in this case, I think it really is. The fact that the race has been here at this same place for so long, and the track is in the same place. It hasn't been flipped around, it hasn't been moved, it hasn't been, and you can just kind of feel that all of the history and all the stuff that has taken place here. And then class eliminations here is always something that people will spend a year preparing for, and it's just on and on and on. It's just there are a number of people that will tell you that well, it's just another race. They don't race. People that race still, did you see, I don't know if you saw it or not, Justin Lamb, he's won 6 championships. He's won 50 races. He's never won Indy. And so he is coming here this year on a mission to put this on his resume. And it still is very special if you live it. If you're a casual fan, if you're, okay, maybe there's nothing I can tell you that's going to make it seem as different as everything else. But if you're a racer, you understand that the U.S. Nationals is just even last year when we came here 4 times. When we came here for the U.S. Nationals, it's just different.
Right. It's just different. And how do you explain emotion? How do you explain, I would compare it to a Yankee Stadium feel. And if you're not a Yankee fan, you don't get that, but insert your winningest of all time favorite team in this position and you might get it. The history, the background, it's all there. But you got to take the first step of the marathon, right? And that's what you guys are going to do tomorrow. The first step. At some point, 2 cars will roll into the water box and they'll heat them up as the first pair down of what is ultimately, I guess, thousands of pairs down the race.
Yeah, this is, I believe it's the only race on the tour now where stock and super stock, you have to qualify. It's a 128 car field, but you still have to qualify, because there are going to be more than that. I don't know what the official car counts are, but in the years past, we've had 150 plus super gas, super comp cars. If you've got to be able to survive the marathon, you've got to go a lot of rounds, and it's just, there's so much more to it. And I think that's what makes it even more special.
Amazing. So people were asking right before, our friends in Louisiana. We have so many racers in Louisiana. It's amazing how many racers are in Louisiana. Doing the show yesterday, Jolie Stanfield said that they came out pretty unscathed, and Jerry posted an update that they weren't unscathed, but they were okay. I just read Angel's update on Facebook, says at the very end, it's a long update, but I will try to figure out how I can make it to the U.S. Nationals. And that was from yesterday at 12:47 a.m. So people are trying, but they got walloped down there. Those that are able to make it, amazing. But we certainly understand, because that was a terrible situation.
Well, you got to take care of the home front first. It doesn't matter what you do for a living or what you do, in some cases for a hobby. but you got to take care of the home front first. And I communicated with a few people down there over the last couple of days as well, and it seems like most of the people I know didn't get hit nearly as hard as what was it, Katrina, I think 17 years ago or whatever it was. But I think there were a lot of things, there were a lot of lessons learned from that some of the stuff that they did after that storm that I think helped quite a bit as far as storm surge and some of the other things. But I'd say most of the people that I have been in contact with were not affected badly. It's a huge storm, but they weathered it, and they're going to make it through. Whether they make it to Indy or not at this point is almost secondary, I think, because you just got to take care of the home front.
Well, exactly. And that it's where everything starts. You don't get to go racing if you don't have a stable home life. And a hurricane can turn it upside down. Earthquakes and tornadoes, everybody in whatever part of the country deals with whatever problem they have. Here in the Southeast, we deal with hurricanes. So Steve Brenwald has posted the entry list: 19 top fuelers, 19 funny cars, 19 pro stockers, 22 pro stock motorcycles, 18 pro mods, 26 factory showdown cars. That's a U.S. Nationals to me, the race within a race that is qualifying. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it will be for everybody, and that's the way it should be. But I think that also goes to show that if you're a racer, this race is still important. You might sit out one of the other ones. You might, skip one to save some budget to do something, but you want to make it to Indy if you possibly can. And I mean, I don't want to be like rubbing salt in the wound or anything, but I guarantee you that the Zizzo team this weekend is going to be really jonesing about not being here, even though they did what they needed to do to take care of their sponsor and go to Brainerd. And I completely understand the business decision, but they're such a regular piece of this, and whoever ends up qualifying in the number 16 spot needs to send Tony a thank you card for not being here, because if he was here, you wouldn't have been 16, you'd have been 17.
I wonder, is that some sort of a strategy by TJ for next year, right? Like make them miss it, make them want it. It's Labor Day, and like we're not at the U.S. He told me, he said, my guys haven't been home with their families on Labor Day for a long time, and we're going to do that this year. Kind of alluding to maybe an expanded schedule next year. We'll see, but kind of had that cat that swallowed the canary look on his face, like what you're talking about, that burn for competition at Indy will catch up to everybody at some point this week.
It will, and I promise you, I'll be hearing from TJ and Tony Smith, and some of the guys are up there about them not being here and how much they miss not being here. Is it nice to spend a long weekend with your family? Sure it is, but Indy's Indy. There's more than one long weekend a year. There's only one U.S. Nationals every year. Okay, so let's talk about our Camping World Series categories. Unless you want to. We got the specialty races, the Dodge Hemi Challenge. Steve Yanis was supposed to join us yesterday. He won last year, brought Jimmy Daniels 4 in a row streak to an end. That is a race within a race that is very special. So let's start out with the specialty races. That and Factory Showdown as they battle Constant Aviation, two relatively new, not so much the Dodge Hemi Challenge, but relatively two specialty races that people come out early in the week just to see those. And that's part of it. I know people, hardcore racers, that would come out here for class eliminations and then go home on Saturday in years past, because that's what they came to see. If you're a guy that grew up racing stock or super stock, and that's really what you follow, then this is the place to be. The number of times that, because, and for you insiders, the automatic horsepower factoring system is not in play at Indy. They just tell them, okay, guys, come on, bring it. And the number of people that over the years have sat on something, right? It's like, okay, this will run 1.8 seconds under. What am I going to do? Nothing until I get to Indy, and then we're going to go show everybody. And it's usually a little deeper in the alphabet car that ends up being in the number 1 spot, or truck. Someplace down there, the M, the S, the U, which oddball combination that somebody finds and goes, oh, this thing's rated at 127 horsepower. I can make that go. And so that's part of the fun of it. And then, once you get into the 7-round race, it's just crazy.
It is. And like those moments, winning class at Indy, something that, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but if you flip on Fox on Sunday to watch the U.S. Nationals and the Camping World Series, who won class at Indy might not even break the bubble of what you're doing. But whoever did win class at Indy in each of those classes, that's a lifetime accomplishment.
It is. And, when you look at, and again, I don't have the car count stuff in front, but there have been times we've come in here between literally like 12 or 13 B stock automatics, because everybody wants to come strut their stuff at Indy, especially when you don't have to worry about the automatic horsepower system that can adjust your combination. But when you can come out here and just let it fly and show off, that's when guys want to do it. And that's why the Indy class trophy, you've got to go back a number of years for this, but there are enough racers, class racers, that have either been around or grew up in the era when their fathers or grandfathers were racing, where winning class at Indy was more important than winning Sunday at Indy. I mean, simple as that.
Wow.
Because you had to win class even to get into the eliminations. And so, if you came out here and you were the Hemi champion, or if you were the M stock automatic champion, it didn't matter. If you won class, it was a big deal. And for a lot of the old time racers and those that have their roots way back in the day, it still is. And I can tell you, I've known people that have come here to run class and then just gone home. We came for this purpose only. And that means more to some of the, especially, like I said, the old hardcore, deep in the roots racers that class at Indy means more to them than winning it on Sunday or Monday.
Well, and because it's about, it's old fashioned drag racing, right? My B stock automatic is quicker than your B stock automatic. That's it. Just like, Ron Capps versus John Force. It's the same concept. We build cars to the rules and we go for it. And yours is faster than mine or vice versa. And then drop the mic and leave.
And it really goes, it goes back a long ways. It goes back in the days when, people would read drag news or people would read National Dragster, and the guys in Florida go, "Oh yeah, this guy in California went what? Oh yeah, they got hot clocks. They got, there's just no way that thing would go that fast. What? Oh, this guy in New Jersey did what? Please." And then what it came down to was, okay, let's go to Indy and find out, right? You want to prove to me that your car's that badass? Drag that thing out to Indy and let's see it. And that's what class eliminations was all about. And there really is still some of that to this day. Maybe not quite on the scale that it used to be back then, because there's so many more races to travel and so much. But back then it was, okay, you want to prove how fast your junk is? Drag it out to Indy and let's put it on.
Yes. Trash talk. Well, exactly. These people have egos. They don't just have cars and successful businesses. They have egos. They're doing it for a reason. And if someone put it this way, I thought this was great. I love McNeil Freeman, right? Like we all love McNeil because he's doing it for the love. He took a picture of a V.
I'm losing you.
Oh, you're losing me. You're not losing me. Test 1, 2, 3. Test. Can you hear me?
I'm losing you.
I don't know why.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You're like, okay.
How about now?
There you go.
I'm back. Bigger and better than ever. McNeil Freeman posted a picture of the other V-stock automatic. There are two. And he already posted a picture. It's a Mustang. So the Taxi and a Mustang are going to battle for class eliminations in V-automatic. And it's like Clash of Titans.
A Mustang? Is it a turbo car?
I guess. I don't know. Like that 4-cylinder. It's like an early 80s.
It might be if it's a Mustang 2. That 302 combination was only rated at like about 110 horsepower or some stupid thing back in the day. So maybe that's, I guess, what Gary Summers' car was a U automatic, right? He could probably make that a V. Anyway, yeah, but it'll be fun. One of the things when they did one of the original sports nationals down in Bowling Green a number of years ago, or maybe it's Baton Rouge, somebody came up with the idea to do like a Q stock automatic shootout. And they ended up with like 7 or 8 of them. I mean, we're talking, one of them was a Matador wagon. That's how deep in the alphabet you go. But somebody just came up with, hey, wouldn't it be fun if, and a bunch of guys put them together, and it was a riot. And so, I love the lower class cars. I did, the lower alphabetical class cars. Guys, they put in just as much hard work. And oftentimes, the imagination to come up with it. Hey, I got an idea. Nobody else got one of these. Let's see if we can make it happen. Is pretty cool.
Yes. Well, exactly. I'm trying to look up McNeil's rival just because I think it's hysterical. The lower class of the car. Look at McNeil. He's hanging out with Antron Brown. He's wearing his WFO Radio t-shirt, Alan, this guy. Can you believe it? But the point of a challenge, someone in the country.
McNeil's not hanging out with Antron. McNeil's Antron's Uber driver. Antron
Yes.
probably needed to ride back to the shop or something.
And for everybody that follows along, here it is, Alan. Like there it is. Like I'm showing you pictures on my phone, but it's a V-stock Mustang on a trailer. So that's like a 1983, 84 Mustang. It's got to be the
Gary Summers?
I don't know. I can't. No name on it. I can't see.
Gary's car is like a 75, maybe. It's a Mustang too. But
that's
anyway,
it.
Good. I mean,
Would you
great.
like to make a prediction
let's
for V automatic?
It might just be a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, because some of those 4-cylinder, like the 4-cylinder Pintos at W, you might be able to take enough weight out of that to get it to move up a class, I guess.
How awesome is it that we're talking V automatic on WFO, baby? That's what it's all about. All right. Steve Brenwald has posted the entry list numbers in every category. Let's just, we already did Camping World, but like top alcohol dragster, 22. That is a great battle. Rachel Meyer, we were talking about championships. I don't want to say it's over, but she's got over 700 points too. Like she's had a really good season. Funny car.
700 points in alcohol dragster is not the same as 700 points in super gas.
Right. She's got a considerable lead. She'd have to really trip up.
No, I'd rather be in her points position than anybody else's, but I wouldn't. I'd feel much more comfortable calling Engraver and telling him to write Luke Bagacki's name on one than to telling him right now to write Rachel's name on one. She's in a great position, but I don't think that she's quite the lock that Luke looks like he is.
The race-winning car the last couple of years, top alcohol funny car. What's interesting, we had all this divisional racing last weekend, and like everybody is as our most recent winner, right? Like Chris Hools won somewhere, and Dan Pomponio won somewhere, and Sean Bellemere won out at Midwest Pro Mod Series. Like a lot of people are coming in hot after race wins.
Yeah, and it should be interesting. I know for a fact that NHRA is planning on having meetings with some of the alcohol competitors about trying to figure out what can we do to increase participation. Is there something as a sanctioning body that can be done? Is there something from a scheduling standpoint that can be done? But when you look at Brainerd and the fact that we had short fields here in both, and we've had some other short fields that we've had to deal with in both of them, and the class is important to NHRA. The class is important to a number of fans, and obviously there's a lot of competitors that are very, very heavily vested in it, and so they want to sit down with get everybody in the same room and say, look, guys, what can we as a group do to make this better? And I think that's great, because there was a day when that probably wouldn't have happened. And so just the fact now that everybody's willing to sit down in the same room and go, hey, look, maybe we can do this, or maybe you can do this, or if you'll do this, then we can convince people to do that, or whatever it takes. But the fact that the conversation is going to take place is, in my mind, I think that's a good thing, and hopefully it'll be a positive thing.
I have an idea, but I have to acknowledge the first ever WFO radio appearance of Mickey the Sound Guy, who is right behind you. And Mickey has never been on WFO before, and he still hasn't, but he's in the background, guys. That's the guy who makes all the audio happen at the national event. I want nostalgia bodies in top alcohol funny car, Alan. This is something that I've thought about for a little while. I love the alcohol funny cars because of the way they are different, right? Their starting line routine. There he is.
I'm helping, but go ahead.
You're helping. They're running wires. This is it. This is how the sausage gets made, folks. You're seeing behind the scenes. But I love the alcohol funny cars for their routine and their sound and the way they race and the way they launch. I had a conversation with Bellemere a couple of weeks ago about just this. But I also understand that everybody's got a Camaro body, and there's a little staleness to some of it. I get it. Can we approve like 3 or 4 nostalgia bodies and put them on alcohol funny cars and get that 77, 78 Trans Am body out there? And a couple of, I think that would kick some life into top alcohol funny car, my opinion.
Okay. Just being a devil's advocate here.
Yes, of course.
I'm not against your idea, but would you run one?
Would I run one on my alcohol funny car that I don't have? If everybody was mandated to run some sort of approved body of the nostalgia variety.
Well, that's not going to happen.
I wouldn't put myself at a competitive disadvantage. I would not do that. But if the rules were written in a way that no one who did it was at a competitive disadvantage, then I would.
Well, and then, okay. But then you open up a whole nother can of worms, because you look at even Nostalgia Funny Car, right? Where it was 10 years ago and what's happened now. Everything's, a little more laid back or a little more tucked down, a little because racers are racers and they're always going to go that direction. I don't know how you could take a 77 Firebird body and be competitive. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, every car in the field was a Mustang. Why? Because the body was better.
Right.
And for everybody out there, if you don't have factory backing, if somebody's not giving you these things for free, and that this one is 1.5 miles or 2 miles an hour faster out the back than that one, you're buying one. It's as simple as that.
And
so, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that could be discussed when you look at from a performance standpoint. And I'm certainly not advocating anything here, but from a performance standpoint, a Nostalgia Nitro funny car is pretty close to an alcohol funny car.
Yeah.
Could you do something like that? Or would you open a can of worms? And, there's a lot of people that I've talked to that like running the alcohol funny car class because they don't have to deal with ejected nitro cars. If you believe that the rules are skewed towards the injected cars, and there are plenty of guys that do, then, if I go run an alcohol funny car, at least everybody's got the same thing. I had a kind of an online conversation with a guy, I guess it's been a year ago now, that, they need to do something. Randy Meyer's cars are so fast and just they're killing everybody. It's just, it's not fair. Okay. How close can you run to Sean Cowie? I can't run with the 3/10 of Sean Cowie. But the nitro cars are unfair? I mean,
right.
If somebody is showing you that an alcohol car will run this well, if yours won't, changing the rules on the nitro cars is not going to make you any more competitive. You have to figure out what you've got to do to get to that level. And, and whatever that is, I don't know, but it's just, one of the things that I think that NHRA and the competitors don't want to get into is the power struggle. I think alcohol dragster right now is pretty close. You take the top 2 or 3 injected cars and you take the top 2 or 3 blown cars, and they're pretty close. On any given day, there's going to be sometimes when you get into conditions where the blower cars have a little advantage, there's going to be conditions where the nitro cars have a little advantage. But I think they're pretty close. But it took some time to get there. And, I wouldn't want to see that happen to alcohol funny car. I would like to see many more of them on the racetrack, though. And it's just, hopefully, there's a bunch of really smart people. A guy that runs an alcohol funny car is not an idiot.
Right.
Because they're not cheap, especially guys that are doing it as a hobby or as part of their business. They're not cheap. They're not easy to run. They're not. So that's pretty smart guys. And hopefully, if they get them all in the same room, they can come up with some ideas that that will help. So we'll see. But anyway, I'm all for at least having the discussion.
Have the discussion. I get it and I appreciate it, and that's it. But someone's mentioning factory stock showdown in the Fords. That's what we don't want, right? Like a bunch of racers with one combination to be upset about a rule change or having to work hard, just keeping their rules. Because the Ford guys didn't care about working hard. They cared about having to change their stuff every other week to stay up with compliance, which are 2 totally different things. You're working and busting knuckles no matter what. But one is just to adhere to rules and the other is to go fast. They would much rather work hard to go fast. Whatever. I agree with you. They should get together. We need more alcohol funny cars, though. All right, let's transition a little bit to the Camping World Series. I want to talk some entry list stuff. We'll start off with Top Fuel, where Greg Carrillo coming out. That's great. Krista Baldwin, Joe Morrison, Trip Tatum bringing out a brand new car, which I hear is unbelievable. Maybe the nicest. Someone said the nicest Top Fuel car they ever saw. Like wiring and like the way it's put together. I'll have to see to judge it. But I feel like it's going to be the usual suspects. I'm thinking about Justin Ashley, though, Alan. I'm thinking Justin Ashley has been knocking at the door. He had that final round in Pomona. Mike Green is a sharp guy. This could be a great, biggest career win for a young man like Justin Ashley.
And, he did win here when we were here last year during the Indy Championship Series. I think, in my mind, I think the big 4 out there right now, obviously Torrance. And, pick a Torrance. I don't, if they're both here, that, from a performance standpoint, they're interchangeable. The 2 cars just run amazingly. Brittany, you look at what she's done, right? 5 consecutive number one qualifiers, which hadn't been done in over a decade. That car can win on any Sunday. I really think Leah's got a great car. They have had some inconsistency. They have had some mistakes. I mean, simple as that. Some crew mistakes and some things that, they've shot themselves in the foot. But she's got a really fast car. And I also think Clay Milligan, because you look at, he hasn't been putting up the numbers that Steve has, hadn't been putting up the numbers that Brittany has, but he's close enough. And right now they're riding some momentum. So I think those, if I had to pick a big four, those are my big four right now. We all know that at some point Coletta's going to snap out of this thing, right? I mean, and I'm talking both cars. Will it happen this weekend? I don't know. They certainly have everything they need. I think that, Antron Brown has been okay. But I just, like I said, my big four are the four that I mentioned. If Antron comes out and wins this thing, I'm certainly not going to go, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Same thing if Sean Langman wins it or if Doug wins it. But right now, the four that I mentioned are kind of my big four. And if somebody else wants to come, if somebody else wants to make a case, I'm willing to listen.
Tony Smith, you mentioned him a little bit earlier, says it's a great field of top fuel cars. I agree. Your big four, I just don't want to pick the Torrances to win the race. No offense to the Torrances. Like, I love the Torrances, but
who are you going to pick to beat them?
Right. That's the thing. Like, who are you going to pick to beat them? Who's going to step up and beat the Torrances? And you mentioned Clay, they're running well. Brittany is our consensus pick from our Patreons last night. 3 out of 8 picked Brittany. But we'll see. We'll see as we get closer. I did mention Justin Ashley's name. If it was to happen, I should deserve some sort of partial credit. Funny car, on the other hand, we talked to Guido yesterday. We talked about Team NASA and everything, and it was really interesting hearing Guido talk about his relationship with John Medlin, and he says that, like, I feel like I'm on a family team, because I feel like I'm on a team with my family. This is not a job. This is a family endeavor, and you add Caps into the mix. They're the defending race winners over there. Like, Guido and Medlin know how to win the U.S. Nationals. They've done it. They've done it a bunch of times. So it's going to be kind of interesting. Caps over there with his, like, chasing history, Ron Caps stat that I don't even want to bring it up, but we're bringing it up. I got my eye on those guys.
Yeah, they've got a good car right now. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Both the John Force cars and any given moment. And, you look at, like, what Robert's team has done the last couple of weeks, and I am convinced beyond 6 shadows of any doubt that they've been testing. They know they're in the countdown when they go in. Jimmy Prock has always loved to test. And if that meant staying after on Monday, or if that meant, coming out here on an off weekend and renting the racetrack and making 2 or 3 or 6 runs, Jimmy Prock has always loved to test. Not having the ability to do that as much anymore kind of leads me to believe that when they go in there and they go, okay, there's how many cars? Okay, when let's try something. And I think, obviously with this being Indy, and then we go right into, the countdown to the championship. Testing's over, boys. It's time to show us what you got. And, Robert's got a great car. Matt Hagan has got a great car. Yes. J.R. Todd's got a really good car. I still can't believe Tim Wilkerson hasn't won a race. You look at what Cruz has done the last few weeks. Great car. There's just, a funny car is probably the most wide open that it's been in a long time right now.
Yeah, maybe ever. And I'm just thinking about that Hagan deal. We had Hagan on the show last week, and he said some things that I thought were welcomed, but also controversial. Like, he talked about the John Force thing that happened in Kansas, and he talked about Cruz Pedregon in the final round. And he didn't say anything that was untrue from his perspective. He gave his perspective on both events. And one was that, game playing on the starting line and double bulbing, and he doesn't like it and didn't think it was cool and whatever. And John has his own deal. But, like, that got me excited about, man, these two, they're going to race probably a lot over the next 7 or 8 races. And Cruz, he said flat out, like, Hagan talked the talk that so many people want to hear these drivers talk. He said Cruz got caught with his pants down on the starting line, trying to take a chunk when the light flashed and he was gone, and Cruz had a bad light. And Hagan reveled in it. He says, I want to tattoo these guys on the starting line. I feel like Matt Hagan is kind of like feeling it right now as the champ and going into this race.
Good. And, hopefully somebody else will, jump on the same bandwagon. Cruz certainly isn't afraid to speak his mind. And one of the things that I think has been missing in Funny Car for the last few years is that Cruz hasn't been competitive enough to really, get into a jabber session with anybody, or to be, when you're not out there consistently winning races and running towards the front of the pack and going late in the rounds. Sorry, but nobody cares.
Right.
When you've got a car now that is, now, and Cruz has never been afraid to speak his mind. He's never been afraid to ruffle a few feathers. And so, I would love to see he and Matt get into a little jibber jabber thing back and forth, because those two are going to run each other a lot too. And behind the scenes, team to team, there's a ton of respect out there.
Yes.
But I also guarantee you that Dickie Venables and JC would sit there and go, let the drivers have it out. This is what I'm doing with my car, and it's never going to cause a problem between those two. But if the two drivers want to stir it up, go for it.
Yeah, and I think you were there after it was all over. I think you were there when Dickie was looking for JC after the race in Brainerd. Like, where's JC? Where's JC? And I think that was just total respect of that moment, regardless of outcome. And they had a moment together. So yes, but that's what we want. They all know it's entertainment. It's entertainment. All right, Pro Stock. Let's get into Pro Stock. Yes.
I want to just throw in, so when this happens, you won't say, well, gee, nobody mentioned
Yes.
Bob Tasca is actually going to win the race. So.
Okay, that's the prediction. Bob Tasca is going to win the race, says Alan Reinhart. Got it. Good to know. Pro Stock. Talked to Hartford yesterday, testing. A lot of people taking Erica. A lot of people, Greg Anderson was the consensus pick that the big milestone is going to happen at the biggest race. I felt like, it's going to happen in Norwalk because of Summit. It's going to happen. And but eventually it's got to happen, right? Like, eventually Greg is going to get this win.
Probably. He's still got the best car. So right. Let's see. Part of the problem that Greg has to deal with right now is that, he doesn't have just elite as rivals. He's created, he has armed a lot of, like WJ once said, I designed a gun that they used to shoot me. You basically are arming the enemy. And when you're leasing engines that are capable of running with or in front of you to guys as smart as the guys are then you're kind of creating your own headaches. But Pro Stock is fun to watch right now. As Greg still has the best car until somebody else proves to me on 3 weeks in a row that they can outrun him 3 out of 4 qualifying sessions, or 2 out of 3 qualifying sessions, or 2 out of 3 rounds on Sunday. I don't know. Could this be it?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we shouldn't make the prediction. Derek mentioned Tobler being a Fox personality this weekend, and I've heard that. I haven't seen it officially, but that Ron Tobler is going to be on the broadcast somehow. I think the world of the guy, and I wonder which Ron Tobler we're going to get. I hope everybody gets to see the Ron Tobler that we all get to see, because it will be very interesting and intriguing, and obviously a lifetime of drag racing experience here at Indy. So that will be great. All right, let's do Pro Stock Motorcycle real quick before we get up on out of here, which many bikes. I saw Chris Bostic has got Hunt Brothers Pizza. Like, how about Bostic bringing in a nice non-endemic sponsor from outside the sport into Pro Stock Motorcycle? Way to go. Like, that's what we need. People need to make things happen. But just looking at all with the Bayou folks, still a question mark, still a great field. I think about Steve Johnson. I think about Matt and Angie Smith, Scotty, and obviously Eddie and Andrew. A lot of guys. But Joey Gladstone could get up there and get in the mix. There are some dark horses that could play.
Yeah, I think that, the 3 bikes that roll out of Matt's trailer, I think that right now would be the safest bet. If I was laying down the odds at a sports book, there have certainly been some others that have had flashes of brilliance, but nobody that has been as fast and as consistent as they have. Steve Johnson's won this race a couple of times, so he's certainly not going to be intimidated by the Indy factor. And he right now might have the second best, behind the Smiths. He might have the second best bike in the category out there right now. So I don't think anybody would be stunned if Steve won it. But I think, even though Steve has won the event, winning it by himself, and by that I mean, his own team, him and Jock, and not just being a guy that comes in and gets on somebody else's motorcycle and rides, but winning it with his own team, I think would be pretty extra special for him. And I think that he's got what he needs to do it.
Well, exactly. And that confidence from earlier in the year, they just got to get back to where they were after Charlotte and get back to that happy place. Matt Smith was the consensus pick of the WFO Patreons. And while we're on that, the consensus picks in Pro Stock Motorcycle was Matt Smith with 3 of 8 picking Matt. And Pro Stock, it was Greg Anderson, 3 of 8 picking Greg. And Funny Car, believe it or not, the consensus pick was Alexis DeJoria. 2 out of 8. Everybody else just fractured, with a Tasca, a Caps, a Force, a Hagen, and a Height. It was Alexis. And, Caps had 2 also. And then Brittany and Top Fuel, the consensus pick of the WFO Patreons. Any final thoughts, Alan, before we let you go? And you get ready to call races and I get ready to head that way.
No, not really as far as the race goes. This is kind of a milestone weekend. And, I hate to, end the show on a downer, but 25 years ago today, we lost Blaine Johnson here. And I still can't believe it's been 25 years, but I didn't want to let the anniversary pass without mentioning that I still think about him every time I come into this place. I was coming here when he and Alan were racing with the alcohol car, and I was here the day of the accident, and every time I come in here, that's just another thing that I think about. So for the family out there and all of the fans I just wanted to let everybody know that he hadn't been forgotten. Elmer died that same weekend, but for me, Blaine Johnson really hit home. Yeah,
well, I'm glad you mentioned that because Blaine's been involved this year, right? Like with the Mike Salinas, the Travers Tool car, and them making that fantastic tribute. And I remember where I was when I found out, and I wasn't at the race. I was in a bar in Fort Lauderdale doing bar crawl late night. They have sports highlights up on screens, and I'm there, and I'm a drag racing fan, but I'm going through the Fort Lauderdale bars, and I got to see drag racing highlight, and I saw that, and it was like, I remember exactly, where I was at that moment because I was a fan. For you guys to be there and be at the track and experience it and just knock wood and, it's good that the sport has evolved in a way. It's never going to be totally safe, but many things have been addressed, that in particular. And 25 years, wow, time flies.
Yep, no doubt about it. But right now I'm looking forward to the first burnout tomorrow. They've got some hot rod Dodges out here right now. They've got a Dodge SRT drive-along thing that's going on behind us, or in front of me, behind you. Kind of like they do up at Denver when we do the Dodge SRT Nationals up at Vandermeer. They bring out some of the hot rod cars and some of the local VIPs from the neighborhood and let them come out here and take a crack at it. So they're all out there having fun.
Awesome. Before we let you go, can you turn the camera so we can see the track and everybody get jazzed? Is that possible? Here we go. Reinhart, turning the camera. You see in the media center? There it is, folks. Lucas Oil Raceway. Hallowed ground. Say it. Look at that. We got a little Dodge Charger out there, and pretty soon that will be packed with 300,000 drag racing fans. Maybe.
Give or take.
Give or take. Exactly. Give or take. All right, Alan, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much for rushing from the airport to do this. I appreciate it.
Yep. Travel safe. I hope you have a better travel day than I did, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I hope so, too. Thank you, Alan. Take care.
See ya.
There he goes, the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, with us here on WFO Radio. Hello from Twitch, says 72 Olds. We have a listener on Twitch. Amazing. Twitch. I got involved with the Twitch. Yeah, I'll create a Twitch account. We're going to stream to Twitch. That's where all the kids are. Yeah, few and far between are watching us on Twitch, mostly on YouTube and obviously various social media, et cetera, and so on. But what you can do to help the show is share the show, retweet, share, copy and paste, tell your friends, write a letter. All of these things work very well to alerting other drag racing fans that WFO is a thing. And we're only a thing because we have great sponsors like Torque Calibration Services of Australia, Matt Clark. Down Under, if you are in racing, manufacturing, if you are in a situation where you need to be vitally on the spot with your torque calibration, reach out to Matt Clark. Hit the website, torquecalibrationservices.com.au, and he is a big WFO radio supporter who wants to support drag racing for the U.S. Nationals. Also, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more how you can drive a dragster, how you can get licensed in an alcohol funny car, how you can follow in the footsteps of so many greats in the sport. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. TotalSeal.com for your next engine. Matt Smith was on yesterday saying he only and exclusively uses Total Seal Piston Rings, which was great. If you're going to be at the track on Friday, 1 p.m., the Pro Stock Pit of Matt Hartford, we're doing a Tech Talk seminar about ring seal and why it's important, and obviously cylinder bore surface with the folks at Rottler. Come on by, but you need a ticket. If you're planning on going to the race, go on Friday so you can see this Tech Talk. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. If you want to become a machinist, blockhead, CNC programs, motorsport, EFI tuning, they do it all at samtech.edu. And Marvin Rodax, coffeeandgrills.com, hot sauces and spice rubs, everything good. Grills, tips, tools, grilling information. Hit the website. You can find all of these websites on WFOradio.com. And shout out to KI from CIP1. Chris Engelson, who is as part of the Total Seal team as is possible. He's also a big banner ad supporter on WFOradio.com. You can also check out the WFO store for face coverings and various gear, including WFO Radio hats. Go to the WFOradio.com website and hit the store. And also Nitro Fish, where you can get a WFO Radio t-shirt and the trailer. All right, let's get some final comments in the comments section before we head on out of here for the big go. Also want to remind you about Patreon, patreon.com/WFO Radio. Yeah, any talk show, you're going to have like 50,000 things that we want you to do and sign up for and be a part of, because we're building this community, right? I'm going, baby. I'm going to be at the U.S. Nationals 24 hours from now. I'll be there, which I'm very excited that I get to travel before Friday morning. Super excited that I get to travel before Friday morning. All right, I told you the consensus picks of the Patreons already. Caps and Alexis splitting funny car. Matt Smith, Greg Anderson, and Brittany. I was surprised people didn't take Steve, but they didn't. So who knows? Let's see what the comments are. 3 or 4 qualifying runs. 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday. Monica, great show today. Safe travels. Looking forward to hearing you guys this weekend on NHRA.tv. Leah says, hi. Says, will do, Joe. Lonnie, got to go to work. Great show, y'all. This guy just waving from Twitch. That's fine. Bring a bunch of your friends. Can't get a Total Seal without Total Seal. Isn't that the truth? You want me to submit that as like their new slogan? Can't get a Total Seal without Total Seal. Chuck says Blaine was a great racer, an even better person. He had his entire future right in front of him. Yeah, well, I had become a Blaine Johnson fan when, my personal favorite drivers all kind of retired at the same time. And here, this new person, to me, jumped on the scene. And I was like, I'm going with that guy. And they were dominant. They were great. Still very sad. And I did not have a personal relationship. I had a fan-driver relationship, which is, bizarre in and of itself. EE going to DTBB. There it is. John Force is going to win funny car. Everybody is just giving their predictions. Stanfield and E in the final round for the Wally. Wow, that would be something. Aaron Stanfield, Iceman. No joke. He could go out there and win. Great show. Safe travels. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you very much for being a part of the WFO universe. Our audience is growing all the time. Fans of drag racing, fans of sport, fans of talk radio, new people who are just randomly passing by. I've heard from many of them that they are interested and intrigued by our sport, what we're doing. So thank you to them. The Ignition Show is in the archive. It's audio only. That's why you subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and write us a nice review. But we had the Patreons on there, and we talked about a whole host of subjects, including Formula One and NASCAR, baseball, football. But of course, we talked Indy. But that's what we did. We talked Indy. So there you go. All right, everybody. That is going to do it. And we will see you next time right here. What is this? Does NHRA.TV have a U.S. Nationals only subscription option? Yes, they do. You can buy independent races one at a time, including this one. You can go buy the U.S. Nationals right now. NHRA.TV. What is this? Late to the party. I have to go back and watch. Oh, man, you will have to go back and watch. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And if you're going to Indy, please shout out WFO. We will see you there. I'm on my way up tomorrow. Thanks to Alan Reinhart. Thanks to all you guys for killing the time. Really appreciate you. And we'll see you in Indy. It's time for the big go.